Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. My name's Jim. Today I want to do a unhaul/haul video. This is my first haul video of 2025, and I got rid of 3 books, picked up 2 new books from, well, new/old books from Little Free Libraries where I dropped off my books. And then I got some used book finds at our local bookstore. So let me run you through these just to have some fun with it. The books I got rid of, I'll show in a photo here, was Against the Grain by J.K. Huysmans, which was written in French. It's a very famous decadent literature novel from the late 19th century. And it was heavily influential on Oscar Wilde's novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And it was in the novel, Lord Henry, one of those characters, he's reading a book, if I recall, and the book he's reading is essentially Against the Grain. The reason I got rid of it is it was I read it many years ago, probably like 20 years ago now, but it was one of these cheap Dover, it's not a Dover thrift edition, but it's a Dover paperback. And it had very little shelf appeal for me. And instead, I'm keeping the Penguin Classics version, Against Nature, by Huysmans. This one is translated by Robert Baldock. So this is good enough for me. I don't think I've read this translation. I read the Dover one. I forget who did that translation. I'll put it in the show description if I can find that info. But yeah, so this was already in the house, and I'm looking to always save shelf space because I'm always bringing in new books, and I have to like churn out some old ones. The other book I got rid of was The ABCs of Reading by Ezra Pound. This was a New Directions paperback. I've read it before, and you know, frankly, I'm not an Ezra Pound fan. It's really hard for me to get over the anti-Semitism and the crackpot economic theories about usury and so forth. He was something of a crank, and he was a traitor during World War II, making radio broadcasts from Italy that were opposed to America's efforts in the war. And I don't think he's that good of a poet. I have tried reading a lot of his poetry, and very little of it sticks with me. It's not for me. Yeah, he's accomplished. He does a lot of interesting things, but not an author that I'm heavily invested in anymore. I've tried. I'm going to keep 1 or 2 of his books of poetry, and give him another shot on that front. But ABCs of Reading is actually, as I recall it, and I read it so long ago, it was a kind of interesting book, but he's sort of giving you a guidance on how to go about reading literature and his very unique, cranky, modernist way. Real champion of the Provençal troubadours, if I remember correctly. But it's just not a book I need to keep around anymore. And maybe someone will like finding it. That being said, about my antipathy towards Ezra Pound, he is an important figure in American literature and Western literature because he was so right in the middle of the modernist movement. He was the mover, shaker, bringing people together, connecting people. I think he's more important for his role that he played that way than as an actual writer. But anyway, I'm off my soapbox about Ezra Pound. The third book I unhauled was The Oresteia by Aeschylus, and this is the Robert Fagles translation, which is very good, but I already have the Fagles translation in the form of a Penguin Classics edition. So this mass market paperback version, pocketbook size, is not needed anymore, so I passed that on. The 2 books that I just picked up today from the Little Free Library, we went for a nice little walk in the neighborhood, were The House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne in a looks to be unused Signet Classics edition. I've read this before. I may have even read the Signet Classics version with a different cover, but I don't have this novel. I discarded that novel many, many years ago. So I think I'll maybe come back to this someday soon. This will not probably be a long-term keeper, but it was in such good condition. And I have a little bit of a fondness for these old Signet Classics lately. So I thought, what the heck. This one is The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler in a trade paperback edition. Vintage crime fiction. And Raymond Chandler was one of the masters of that genre. Let me read you the blurb here. Raymond Chandler's ingenious novel finds Marlowe constantly on the move with a case involving a war-scarred drunk and his nymphomaniac wife. A psychotic gangster's on his trail. He's in trouble with the cops, and an unequaled number of corpses turn up. I've read one other Raymond Chandler, I think, and I read that in a pop culture class in grad school at University of Texas. And we read, like, it was like a unit in the class. So I think we read that, the one Raymond Chandler, and we read The Maltese Falcon by Dashiell Hammett. And then we read, I think it was The Postman Always Rings Twice. And then we watched the films, the film noir versions of all those. I preferred the films to the books, but the books were kind of fun to read. So I thought, let me stretch a little bit. And when I'm kind of like oversaturated with, the highbrow literature and stuff like that, maybe I can just cleanse the palate with some crime fiction. It's not a genre I typically read in, but every now and then it's fun to change gears. This will also not be a keeper. Just consider it alone. It'll end up in a little free library someday. I don't know if I'll read this in 2025, but maybe I will. Okay, so that's kind of like the trade-off in a little free library world. I also stopped at one of our local used bookshops. It's called Second Reading Number 2. Second Reading Number 1 is in downtown Westchester, small shop, but it's a nice little place. Second Reading 2 is in a small shopping center south of town, and it so turns out that they are moving because this shopping strip is a good chunk of it is going to be sold off, and they're going to build a brand new Wawa. Now, if you are not from Southeast Pennsylvania, you may wonder what Wawa means. Well, Wawa is legend in our parts. Wawa is a Lenni Lenape word. It goes back to the Native American indigenous tribes that lived in our area. And I think I forget what the word means. It has something to do with geese, like Canadian geese, because like they use that in their logo. But anyway, Wawa started as a milk producer. They had a giant dairy on Route 1, Baltimore Pike, in Delaware County, which we affectionately call Delco now. And this is about 25 minutes away from here, maybe less. And they had this huge operation. And then in 1964, they opened up these convenience stores. And later they just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then they started, a lot of the Wawas now have gas stations with them as well. So they're nothing fancy, but they just have become like part of our culture. And they got a reputation for making really good hoagies and having really good coffee, and everybody goes to Wawa. It's like all social classes meet at the Wawa. The counterpart to Wawa in our state of Pennsylvania, our Commonwealth, is Sheetz, Sheetz, and they occupy like huge swaths of the rest of the state. And they also are very popular. Same idea, convenience store, gas station, you get all kinds of takeout food there and sandwiches and whatnot. And, so there's like the Sheetz versus Wawa wars. Wawa is now sort of trying to invade into Sheetz territory. So I see that they're opening up some shops in Lancaster County and beyond. And who knows, maybe we'll start seeing Sheetz stores down our way. But anyway, why did I even mention this? Oh, right. So the Wawa is going to like build a huge new Wawa with a gas station in this shopping center. So my beloved second reading #2 bookshop is not closing, but they're going to be moving. So they're moving to a small shopping center on the east side of Westchester as you come into town. And I think they're changing the name of it. And it's going to be opening, I believe, in February. So I popped in there. Every now and then I pop in there. There's a nice little grocer at the end of that shopping strip, which thankfully is not moving, called Colonial Village. And we get sometimes meats there and, sort of produce, and they make good sandwiches too. Anyway, so they're not moving, but second reading #2 is moving. And I thought, well, let me stop in here. This might be the last time I stop there before they move. So I go into the store, browsing around. There's boxes everywhere. They're already packing up all their Christmas decorations. They're starting to box up books, I think. And, I poked around there a little bit. I know the store really well, so I can check it out pretty fast to see what anything new might have come in. So, me, I jump right to the classics section and probe there. And I found a few, what I consider to be good finds. The first is the Penguin Book of First World War Poetry. And this is a very nice, feels like brand new, like new condition, Penguin Classics. This is just an anthology of World War I poetry. Couldn't pass that up. I also found Stendhal, The Charterhouse of Parma, a book I've never read before. I do like the Stendhal that I have read. The one book I read by him, the novel, was The Red and the Black. Highly recommend that. And then also this book, really cool book called Love. I have the Penguin Classics edition of that. And that's more of like a treatise on romantic love, erotic love. And that was a really, really fascinating book. So this, the blurbage on the Stendhal, let me read it. This got turned into I don't know if it was like a PBS miniseries like decades ago, and I didn't watch it, but it was, I think a lot of people did watch it and like it. Anyway, here's the scenario for the Charterhouse of Parma. Headstrong and naive, the young Italian aristocrat Fabrizio del Dongo is determined to defy his ultra-conservative father and go to fight for Napoleon. He stumbles on the Battle of Waterloo, ill-prepared, yet filled with enthusiasm for war and glory. Following Napoleon's defeat, Fabrizio returns secretly to Italy to pursue a series of amorous adventures under the protection of his aunt and her ministerial lover at the ducal court in Parma. And this is what sold, the next sentence is what sold me on the book. Judged by Balzac to be the greatest French novel of its time, The Charterhouse of Parma is a compelling tale of extravagance and daring, blending political intrigue with the romance and excitement of youth. It's a new translation by John Sturrock. And this came out in 2006. Clearly has not been read, and the spine is not cracked at all, like new condition. I'm all about the Penguin Classics this year. I think 2025 is going to be Penguin Classics year for me because of that Penguin Classics book that I bought, which again is highly addictive, and it's feeding my collector's habit. Dangerous. The other good find I found was the Heritage Press edition of the Essays of Montaigne. And this is 3 volumes. And I have multiple editions of Montaigne already. I have Great Books of the Western World, first edition, and I forgot who the translator is. And Great Books of the Western World, second edition of the essays is by a different translator. I have that. And then I have 2 volumes of the Franklin Library, Great Books of the Western World, which I've featured on this channel before. They split the essays, I think, maybe into 3 volumes in that edition. And I forgot who the translator is for that one. It might be the one, I think it's the one they used on the 1990 edition. And so, yeah, I'm well supplied with Montaigne. The one I seem to have gotten rid of was the Modern Library edition, which I think was the John Florio translation, which Shakespeare would have been exposed to. This translation is by George B. Ives with an introduction by Andre Gide. Okay, now these heritage presses, you know, I'm a fan of these. Illustration wise, there's nothing a whole lot fancy here. They do have like chapter headings are illustrated, but I don't see any other like illustrations per se. So it's, you know, it's not one of their more like fancy editions, but this is in really great shape. Oh, good. And it comes with the sand glass, which appears to be washed out. That's weird. But this little insert that would come if you had bought the original volume. And the cool thing about this, which would really make, I've seen this in the store before and never picked it up because it's just kind of like, you know, brown spine with the gold. It's just a little humdrum, nothing too fancy. I like the slipcases though. But what I didn't realize until I watched Robert G., Reader of Books, was that this 3rd volume is actually a handbook. So all the essays are covered in volumes 1 and 2, but volume 3 contains notes upon the text of the translation by George B. Ives, the translator, and a series of comments upon the essays by Grace Norton to accompany that. And this is really cool because if you've ever read any Montaigne, you know how elusive he is. He's always referring to his copious reading, especially of the classics of Greece and Rome. And it can be hard to keep things straight. So it would be really nice to have some notes. Like that's gives you like more leads to explore, because I don't think any of my other editions of Montaigne have anything like that, nothing close to that. So really cool. And thanks to Robert G., Reader of Books, for talking about these volumes and getting me interested in them. So here's the end of this story about the bookstore. I was just willing to, you know, sometimes I get in a mood to treat myself and buy some books. So these were listed at $8 each. So this would have been $24. And I think they charge $4 for these paperbacks. Well, I go up to the counter to pay my money, and they tell me everything in the store is half price because they're moving. They want to clear out a lot of stock so they don't have to move it. They have so much in their back room. And I was thrilled. So I got these 3 and these 2, everything for $18.02. That's with tax. So it was my lucky day. I was really happy about that. And that is my story of Unhauls little library finds, and this new haul of some stuff, used books from the Second Reading #2 bookstore, which is moving. So that will wrap it up for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, hit the like button and please subscribe. And if you like this content, you'll get notified if you ring the bell. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Bye-bye.